This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Justin Freakin and Smokey Bong. Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. A friggin' Monday. I will tell you the news looks mighty bleak. You want to know about all the dystopian shit going on with ICE? You want to see a man get locked up in his underwear? This is the place for you. Charlie Kirk hating MLK. That's going to come into play here. Don Lemon went inside of a church with a group of protesters. It was an organized protest. I don't think Don Lemon was part of the protest. He just followed protesters inside of the church. The pastor in the church, a district manager or some shit. That's not what it's called. District field office agent something. Ball sack for ICE. They called him out on it. They called him out. Like, he's not being a Christian. There was a train in Spain that sounded like the start of some tongue twister or a fairy tale or something. The train in Spain was looking mighty plain. No, it went up in flames because there was a collision on the Spain and train, and 20 people died, and I'm over here making jokes. I have not heard any deaths so far in the 100 car pileup that happened in Michigan. This coming as a winter storm getting ready to hammer the east and the south. A judge and his wife were shot inside their home. We have a manhunt we might be checking in on later on tonight. A nurses' strike in New York City is entering its 8th day. EU leaders are threatening the United States with a trade bazooka. A trade bazooka. And killer elephants are on the loose in India. Multiple people are dead. All that and a lot freaking more tonight. The Troll Patrol live. Good evening. Welcome. We could do a limerick about the train in Spain going up in flames. Warlord, Holiday, Thread, Law Dog, Kaya. Welcome in, friends. Good evening. Good evening to the YouTube peeps. I need to get everything set back up to where we have Kick people back. I was actually making some money from Kick. Well, they're about to hate several states, apparently. We're getting ready to get hit hard here in the South. Currently, the North getting hit. Michigan, once again, hammered with snow. You're going to see a 100 vehicle pileup later on in the stream. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Dolly Parton Day if you live in Tennessee. Oregon gal, good evening. Gotta go walk your elephant. His name's Stampy. I'm not high enough for this shit. Martin Luther King Jr. would want me to smoke a bong in his honor.
Observing Martin Luther King Jr. today, celebrating the life and legacy of one of our nation's most iconic civil rights activists. Dr. King advocated for racial equality while leading peaceful protests, including the March on Washington, where he delivered his I Have a Dream speech. Americans have been gathering for parades and celebrations in cities, including here in D.C. as well as in Los Angeles. Our ABC News contributor and op-ed columnist for the Los Angeles Times, LZ Granderson, joins me now. So, LZ, the landmark voting rights legislation that MLK fought for could soon be gutted by the Supreme Court. How do you see his legacy, just given this moment that our country is facing?
I thought they already gutted it.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. Obviously, the nation is under fire right now. When you think about what's happening in the streets in Minnesota, when you think about the conversations surrounding Venezuela, when you think about what's happening with the conversations surrounding Greenland. And so when I think about Dr. King's legacy, I just don't think about it solely in terms of the legislation benefits of Americans who happen to be Black. I think about all of it, because that's what Dr. King fought for. And so it is a moment of reflection for Black people, yes, but it's a moment of reflection for all of us. You know, the principles that Dr. King fought for in a nonviolent manner wasn't just about uplifting Black people for the sake of Black people, but it's about America fulfilling her
As far as I know, Dolly Parton is okay.
Said, I think that these sort of...
I think the governor of Tennessee was wanting to take a shot at MLK by declaring today to be Dolly Parton Day.
Benefits, these rights were granted to all of us. And he was talking about the Constitution and about upholding the Constitution. That wasn't just about Black people, that was about all of us. And so this moment, this day is a time for all of us, regardless of our color, to think about that message.
And LZ, earlier today, our Kira Phillips interviewed Dr. King's granddaughter and asked her about his legacy and how it's carrying on to the younger generation. So just take a listen to this portion.
Well, I certainly feel concerned about the state in which we're going, and in terms of the status of the legacy now. I think that, unfortunately, in order for the people to wake up, I think that we have to see certain aspects of the legacy being taken away and be under attack. Before my grandfather was assassinated, he left behind a legacy. He left behind a blueprint of what needs to be done next.
Do you agree with what his granddaughter said, and how do you compare where our country
it is her
now to the
birthday.
aftermath of the
It is
civil
not
rights
King's
movement?
birthday.
You know, the civil rights movement actually started before Dr. King was involved, and it continued upon his passing, and it continues to this day. You know, it's not just about having a singular figure lead this conversation, but it's about all of us taking his example in each of our lives. You know, whether it's challenging someone who says something that is offensive and wrong in our personal space, or speaking in front of thousands of people as he did. We all have an opportunity to continue his legacy through our example. That's the reason why we have the day of service, so that we can be of service to each other. So I absolutely understand where she's coming from in terms of a singular figure and a singular message. But this movement has been going on since the first Africans were kidnapped and landed on this land. And it will continue to happen until America fulfills her promise.
And remind us, how does Stevie Wonder play into the way that we celebrate?
Wow, you know,
What?
Not long after Dr. King was unfortunately assassinated, the great Nina Simone did a concert at Morehouse where Dr. King graduated. He was enrolled at 15. Famously, that's how brilliant he was. And she does this concert, and afterwards she does this interview. And that's where we get this iconic quote that an artist's duty is to reflect the times. So to talk about Stevie Wonder, that's exactly what he did. He took up the mantle. His famous song, Happy Birthday, was in celebration of Dr. King's birthday being a national holiday. And I think we all know how it sort of goes, happy birthday to you. But what it really did was just sort of, instead of it being a somber moment to talk about the assassination, it was a celebration of his work and his legacy. And so I'm thrilled that we're talking about Stevie Wonder, but we have so many artists today who can do what Nina Simone said, which is reflect the times. You know, it isn't just about the 1960s. We are in a dark time right now in this country, and it's always been historically the artists, the creatives, who have helped everybody see that we can have a better life in a better way.
Elsie Granderson, thank you as always.
There's a lot of things they don't teach you about Martin Luther King. What the history books get wrong about Dr. King here on this MLK Day 2026.
Dr. King was a democratic socialist.
Pretty good summation. As the title of this stream suggests, Charlie Kirk hated Martin Luther King Jr. And on this first Martin Luther King Jr. Day without Charlie Kirk, I would like to do a little flashback to that time that Charlie Kirk proved he's a raging racist.
And I just said it was kind of a throwaway line, right, Andrew?
It was such a throwaway line.
It was a throwaway thing. I'm just kind of doing this thing, and some tech blog called Wired Magazine.
You'd think they would write about
crypto?
computers, the internet,
Bitcoin, crypto, hacking,
engineering, but apparently
cybersecurity.
they just police what people think about a certain infamous American of the mid-20th century.
Yeah, some holy figure. So I'm going to read this email from...
Must be a religion blog.
Who is this guy? I don't know.
Secular saint.
He says, "Hi, I'm a reporter with Wired Magazine in New York. I'm reaching out because we're publishing a story about Charlie Kirk's comments on Martin Luther King Jr. and his plan to release content about King on January 15th. Mind you, they act like I'm planning a terrorist attack. Like the way this is written, his plans to create content on January 15th. Like what? I mean, like what am I, like planning like a terrorist attack on Christmas Day? We note in our piece. Oh, so you already wrote the piece. That's what I love about this, right? They're not asking me for comment. They're trying to fill in a couple gaps. We note in our piece. Oh, so you already wrote the piece. We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Does Kirk believe that racial segregation should be permitted in the United States? Again, this is how shallow they are. It's as if you don't support the Leviathan and the building of a mass racialized bureaucracy and a refounding of the United States via the Civil Rights Act, you must be pro-racial segregation. Does TPUSA see any tension?
Refounding of the United States?
MLK and its website, by the way, we don't anymore, so this guy's outdated. What role does Blake Neff have in creating content on MLK? Because I said,
what have I done this time?
No, this is what the best part, right? Because I mentioned Blake. And he says, what role? Well, this is the perfect time to release it. This is a perfect time to announce. Little did this reporter know that Blake Neff is director of MLK history at the Charlie Kirk Show.
Yeah, it's my new title. Right there.
Congratulations,
right there.
Blake. Wow,
Director of MLK Truth.
MLK, they
I
didn't
like
know.
the white MLK better. MLK.
He's also known as the white
Blake
MLK.
Neff.
No, I'm gonna do an hour about how MLK is not worthy of deification and worship. That if you pray in the name of MLK, it does not heal you of the sin of racism.
You know, it's not just a religious
I don't
thing.
think
It's
anybody's
also,
asking
they're
you
worried
to
about
worship him.
treason because what if
I'm gonna have my apartment raided.
Who's
'cause
we're told America's a
I don't
republic,
know.
we're a democracy or a democratic republic or a republican democracy.
It's like the right wingers are always coming up with like, oh, you worship Biden and shit. Like, I do? Do I?
Whatever. But we're really a monarchy because if there's one person that like Republicans and Democrats agree is just our supreme authority, it's Martin Luther King.
No, it's
and what's his last
unbelievable.
name? His last
King.
name is King. And what does everyone call him? MLK. What if I told you that the Semitic root MLK means king?
Does it really?
In Hebrew.
Is that right?
That is true. 100% true.
Well then, I mean,
What?
he is our king. And the fact that I have some sort of throwaway line, like I'm planning an EMP, that like the Charlie Kirk show is, in some ways, we kind of are. Because if you think about it, and I did some research of any organization that might be considered mainstream or anyone, MLK truly is a bipartisan worshipped figure. And they worship, and for all fairness, the right will take one line from MLK and say he's great because of this, and the left will take all the other stuff that he believed, which is the hyper-racialization of America. And again, I don't want to bury the lead, but how did we get here? And how much of our race-obsessed politics is because of the elevating of MLK? And so what was originally planned as a little sideshow is going to be the main show on Monday.
Definitely took some shots or some reviews, and we went over the history of MLK
Jack Basobiak.
pretty extensively, and basically came up with this, the formulation that the right needs to stop mythologizing this guy and really needs to stop taking this one line in one speech about, having a dream and children. And obviously, it sounds great, but you have to actually look at his record and the things that he did and the things that he supported and the people that he supported, the policies that he supported, the mass race riots that were going on all throughout the 1960s that he didn't seem to bat a single eye at, that were going on.
Why is it that the person that gets their own...
I mean, the man who, faced the resistance from the government didn't bat an eye. I couldn't take any more of it. There's only like half the clip. We're moving on. We're going to Iran. We could put up a lettuce to see if the Iranian regime, is it the Ayatollah, that's it. And then we see if the Ayatollah can outlast the lettuce.
Truth or Fake means Vedika held by the Big Bull. Good evening to you, Vedika. Since protests against the theocratic regime began in Iran at the end of December, it's been difficult to establish a precise death toll. So, what do we know right now?
Well, Mark, it is the question that everybody is asking. What is the death toll in Iran? What is the human cost of these ongoing anti-government protests? And it is the most difficult question to answer because there are so many moving parts, so many different elements that make it difficult to verify and accurately count what's going on. Now, this weekend, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, publicly acknowledged for the first time that several thousand people had been killed in these demonstrations, though he pointed the finger at what he called agents of the US and the Zionist regime. Now, an Iranian official also waded in on the subject in terms of numbers, speaking anonymously to Reuters news agency, verifying that at least 5,000 people had been killed in the protests in Iran, although he gave this disclaimer that the final toll is not expected to increase sharply. So, Mark, that is what the Iranian authorities have said. However, observers and rights groups believe that the death toll from the protests in Iran could be, in fact, significantly higher.
So that number given by Iran is a lot smaller than the death toll estimated by some observers.
It is, yes. Some international media have been reporting and estimating figures up to 4 times higher. If we look at this article from CBS News from a week ago, they reported that at least 12,000 people may have been killed in the anti-government protests in Iran, possibly as many as 20,000. And they have based this on estimates from activists in Iran using national medical reports. But remember, these are estimates from a week ago almost. Now, I also want to, the same day that that report was published by CBS News, London-based media Iran International also used that same figure of 12,000 deaths. They cited high-level government and security sources in Iran. And just this weekend, the Sunday Times estimated a death toll of between 16,500 to 18,000 victims. And this is based on data collected by Iranian sources in several hospitals and emergency services across the country. But yes, Mark, there has been a wide berth, shall we say, of estimates over the last week. And yes, they are much higher from the outset than the numbers published by the Iranian government.
16,500, according to the article on your big board there. You've spoken to 2 of the top organizations regarding verification of the death toll. What numbers are they giving us?
Well, despite these differing estimates that we've seen now, most international media outlets and most agencies, including us here at France 24, rely on the data given by 2 organizations covering human rights in Iran. There is the NGO Iran Human Rights, which is based in Norway, and there is the human rights activist news agency, or Harana, or HRA, which is based in the US. As of this weekend, so very much the latest information, Harana has confirmed 3,919 deaths, almost 4,000, of which includes 178 members of government forces, and they say just under 9,000 deaths are still being investigated by them. From a few days ago, from the 14th of January, Iran Human Rights confirmed nearly 3,500 confirmed deaths. Now, all of this from the 2 NGOs, it's based on concrete testimony from families, medical sources, official reports on the ground in Iran. Now, according to both of these NGOs, though, they have testified that between the 8th to the 12th of January, that was when the vast majority of victims were killed between these protests. Well, what they say is that when the deadliest crackdown took place, when the crackdown by the Iranian government was at its most violent. But yes, I just want to specify that these numbers are lower, you might think, from the numbers that we've seen reported elsewhere, but even the Iranian government as well. But it is important to note that these are very much an underestimation. It's being very kept at a minimum. Now, at the France 24 Observers, we spoke to Harana, and they continue to emphasize that the figures should be understood as minimums, not estimates of the full scale of harm. You also have to take into account that both of the NGOs, they use a methodology that requires independent verification using primary sources, and that, of course, takes additional time as well. Now, there's also the fact that there is an internet blackout in Iran, which poses, as we can see, as quoted by Jennifer Connet, the legal advisor at Harana, it poses serious obstacles to documentation and verification. It makes their work increasingly
blackout's still in effect.
Now, I also want to talk about the fact we have to take into account that the work is not over. It is ongoing and it is incomplete, as we saw in our table earlier.
They are protesting the Iranian regime. They might topple
to make sure that that is correct with the limited means. So, you know, NGOs here are trying to catch up with the limited means that they have. They are doing their best with the obstacles that they have in place. And they are underestimating, because it is so difficult in these extraordinary circumstances to verify exactly what's going on the ground. But that is what we know as of now, of course.
Vedika Bahal, thank you very much, Steve, for that truth or fake.
They ran down the death toll. By the way, on Thursday, we're going to have the testimony of Jack Smith in Congress. Go to the AP for more. Like, this is fascinating with what's going on in Iran. See if we can get more of an idea. Apparently, hackers interrupted a state TV protest earlier today.
Targeted Iranian state television, and they disrupted the satellite transmission of several channels. That disruption saw images of Iran's exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, play. It included him calling on security forces to lay down their weapons. No group claimed responsibility, though Pahlavi was quick to highlight it as he's trying to put himself forward as a leader in those nationwide protests that led to this crackdown against demonstrators in Iran. Activists in the United States say that at least 3,900 people have been killed so far, and they warn that death toll could rise ever higher. Meanwhile, we saw that the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, rescinded the invitation to Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. They said because of the deaths in the country, they could no longer invite him there to give a speech. The Iranians responded pretty angrily, saying that was part of an American Zionist current against Iran right now. Meanwhile, there's a U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, that's past Singapore. It looks like it's heading towards the Middle East. That would potentially give the United States a platform by which to launch any possible military attack against Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump has laid down 2 red lines: the killing of peaceful protesters, as well as Iran conducting mass executions of demonstrators it now holds. Iran has again said that it's not going to hurt those that it believes should have Islamic leniency applied to them, but it did warn that rioters and so-called seditious terrorists could face the ultimate punishment.
Sounds familiar. So I've heard that one before. They'll call you a rioter and shoot you in the face.
Thousands are marching in protest around the world after a massacre on the streets of Iran at the hands of the regime. Exactly what is happening inside Iran is hard to decipher. The country is 10 days into one of the most extreme internet shutdowns in history. Millions are still completely cut off from the outside world. Campaigners say the blackout was designed deliberately to stifle dissent and stop international scrutiny. But protesters will not be silenced. From Tokyo to London, thousands have made their feelings known.
I know all the Iranian people to outside Iran, inside Iran, they want their freedom.
I was stopped in Iran many times by the regime, you know, telling me what to do, like how to dress. So they're trying to control our choices.
We are the new generation and we're not happy. We don't want them anymore. We want our king. We want King Reza Pahlavi come back to Iran and make Iran great again.
You want a king.
In Iran, we had to escape Iran, and they have been so cruel for 47 years, but their cruelty has reached its peak and people just want their freedom.
Inside Iran, the demonstrations are the biggest challenge to the regime since the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Many of those killed weren't even born then. Most who have died are believed to be under 30. Yesterday, for the first time, Iran's supreme leader admitted thousands have been killed since the protests began 3 weeks ago.
They were emotional young people and teenagers who carried out acts they shouldn't have, engaged in mischief they should not have committed. They were the foot soldiers.
Foot soldiers for the US claim the regime. Donald Trump had threatened to take action.
If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
Having already announced 25% tariffs on any country trading with Iran, President Trump now seems to think his work may be done.
You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone, they canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
Iran may be offline, but the world is watching.
Did Trump do something to stop those hangings? Yeah, the king thing's a little unusual, but he also said make Iran great again. Listen, maybe Trump does deserve the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yesterday you accepted Maria Machado's Nobel Prize medal. What do you intend to do with it, and why would you want someone else's Nobel Prize?
Well, she offered it to me. I thought it was very nice. She said, you know, you've ended 8 wars, and nobody deserves this prize more than in history than you do. And I thought it was a very nice gesture. And by the way, I think she's a very fine woman.
That was on crack.
We'll be talking again. Say it?
What's the trigger for the Insurrection Act in Minnesota? What are you waiting
Yesterday you accepted Maria Machado's Nobel Prize medal. What do you intend to do with it, and why would you want
It's not high enough for this shit.
Well, she offered it to me. I thought.
My lord,
she said,
Quantum Traveler, welcome in.
And nobody deserves this prize more than in history.
John Andrews, I tell you good evening, my friend. I don't know if I gave you a proper
very fine woman.
good evening.
We'll be talking again.
I went up to on that.
Say it?
What's the trigger for the Insurrection Act in Minnesota? What are you waiting
Nobel Peace Prize stealing Trump. Pointed a man by the name of Greg Bovino, who went in to Minneapolis looking like this.
Get out of the way. Out of the road. Out of the road now. Hey, jump that photo. Jump that photo. Hey, put that. Get out of the way. Out of the road. Out of the road now.
This is like the least American thing ever. He's gonna punch that motherfucker in the face.
Jump that photo. Jump that photo. Hey, put that.
Gestapo LARPing motherfuckers is what that is. DHS claims they have been apprehending the worst of the worst when it comes to their enforcement of immigration law. DJ Dub, good evening. Fox 9 Minneapolis did a little fact-checking on that claim.
Leaders highlight the worst of the worst. ICE says these are the violent criminals taken off the streets in Minnesota during Operation Metro Surge. State officials, though, say the number of arrests weren't the result of this operation. The arrests actually came directly from state prisons, which is different. Fox 9's Rob Olson is in our newsroom. Now, Rob, you tried to kind of parse through some of the numbers today and try to get to some clarification here. The state wants to say that they want to push back on this. Is that right?
Yeah, the Department of Corrections saying that some of the arrests that are being presented as illegal immigrants that the state let go free into the community. Well, according to DOC records, some of those did come directly from state prisons.
There are instances where we have released people to ICE, and they are some of the people who...
I thought that Dilbert motherfucker died.
Friday, when we spoke to Corrections Commissioner Paul Schnell, who'd wanted to clarify at that point that Minnesota always notifies ICE of each non-citizen inmate in state prisons and honors federal detainers, telling ICE when they'll be released. He mentioned the worst of the worst arrest lists and how they include inmates the state's handed over, sometimes years ago.
They were released first at least in one instance to ICE, and then went through whatever proceedings happen at that immigration level and are back in the community.
So we took another look at one of the recent lists, which says ICE officers arrested despite efforts of rioters and sanctuary politicians to protect them, and found, according to DOC records, it includes an inmate released directly to ICE in August, another one in October, and 3 in November, people who were never out in the community. And there are 4 people released to ICE between 5 and 23 years ago. Unclear what happened to them after
Keep
that.
getting asked about taking an immigrant. Yeah, maybe.
At the county level, while some jails do not cooperate with ICE requests, many do. Dakota County Sheriff Joe Lico telling me we've had roughly 80 ICE detainers placed on inmates in 2025, and we cooperated with ICE on each one of them. That the confusion and claims that local agencies do not honor them is inaccurate and unfair.
So certainly some of the other ICE arrests that are being publicized are coming directly from county jails too. We don't have an exact data on that, but Sheriff Lico down in Dakota County says ICE does have full access to their jail rosters, which are public, in order to make those.
Oh yeah, there's dump bucks everywhere.
Okay, Rob, so there's the state prison
They are
system, and
definitely
then we have county jails.
here in
What
America.
are the differences in the process between a detainer request from a county jail and then the prison?
Yeah, well,
they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
And in the state prison system, the DOC will notify ICE of a release date several weeks in advance because they know exactly when a prison sentence is going to be up. In county jails, the releases are much more fluid. It can happen after a court hearing, an order of release, or a bond is placed, and then that happens typically a few hours later. In some of those cases, ICE may not be able to get there in time. The county tells me, the sheriff told me in Dakota County by law, they can't hold somebody further waiting for ICE. So in those cases, they may be released in the community, but the sheriff says it's not because they're not cooperating.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
The Department of
Yeah, Bobby, I appreciate it. You may have seen this one. It's been going viral. A man in his fucking shorts and some Crocs was cuffed and taken out in the cold. And what was it today, DJ Dub? This might have been yesterday. What was the temperature? Fucking near zero?
Really? Are you kidding me? Look at him! Look at him!
New video shows a grandfather walked out of his home wearing just a blanket, shorts, and slippers during a bitter cold blast. His family says he's a U.S. citizen.
Also new today, federal prosecutors are vowing to press charges against these protesters who burst into a Sunday service. One of the church's pastors is a local ICE leader. Thanks for joining us. The head of Homeland Security now says they've made 3,000 arrests in the past 6 weeks.
Where are they taking those arrested? We're going to dig into that in a moment. But first, the latest on this dangerously cold Arctic air. We've reached a whopping 2 degrees, but if you've been outside, you know it feels much colder. And Mike, I mentally prepared myself because you told us about this last week. Not physically prepared, though.
No, I mean, it gets colder from here for sure, and in fact, dangerously cold air on the way with more.
We'll get to the weather. We'll get to this church.
Goldberg recorded the identity. Now is a U.S. citizen who was later released after agents confirmed his identity. Mark Goldberg recorded the encounter.
It is heartbreaking. It is infuriating to see U.S. citizens, and this gentleman was a U.S. citizen, ripped out of his house without a shirt on, without a coat, without pants, wearing his boxers and Crocs. I don't know how anyone could watch that happen to anyone.
ICE says they had to take Tao into custody while looking for 2 other guys. Hear why coming up all new at 6.
A man arrested in Minnesota has died in ICE custody, the agency confirmed this weekend. ICE thinks the 36-year-old from Nicaragua died by suicide at this Texas detention center. In a press release, they said that he came here illegally, but did not say anything else about his criminal history.
The facility near the Mexico border is known as Camp East Montana. It's currently housing nearly 3,000 detainees, many of them from here. So Esme Murphy's here with more about the facility. What have you found out, Esme?
Well, it's very interesting. It's a brand new facility, just 5 months old.
Yep, I'm a yes on that orgy couch. Well,
designed to hold the surge in detainees under President Trump's increased deportation efforts. CBS News reports the federal government.
We turned the light off. A woman was taken into custody by ICE. She described her encounter to reporters with ABC.
First-hand experience dealing with ICE when she was pepper sprayed, arrested, shackled, and taken to an ICE detention center in Minneapolis. Patty O'Keefe says she and a friend were following ICE agents in her car as they made arrests during the federal crackdown in her community last week. She says that ICE agents surrounded her car, sprayed irritant into her windshield vent, and then the agents smashed her windows, pulling her and her friend, Brandon Seguenza, from the car. taking them into custody for obstruction. A neighbor hearing the commotion took this video.
Oh my God. You think we're playing? You are under arrest for the United States government for impeding. Put your hand behind your back. Shut up. Shut up.
O'Keefe and Seguenza, both U.S. citizens, say they were ultimately released without charges after being held for almost 9 hours at the Henry Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis, where detainees are being processed. Joining me now, Minneapolis resident Patty O'Keefe. So, Patty, describe what happened before these moments when they came to the car. How are you monitoring
Fourth Amendment violation if I've ever
how did
seen
things
one.
get so heated?
Yeah, we had gotten an alert from a group chat that there were 2 ICE agents cornering an observer in my neighborhood and had sprayed pepper spray onto their car. This was just about 3 minutes away from my house, so we headed in that direction because everything we have heard is that the more people who are on the scene and, watching, filming ICE agents, the less likely it is that the situation, that ICE will escalate to violence. So when we got on the scene, the ICE agents were getting back into their car. They turned down a side street. We followed them for about, 40 seconds, and then they stopped the car, came out, and one of the agents sprayed pepper spray onto my front windshield vent. And then they came back and broke the windows of our car, dragged us out, arrested us, put us in 2 separate unmarked vehicles, and took us to the detention center.
All right, I'll get to what happened in the detention center in just a minute, but what was the purpose of following them? What was your objective?
Well, many people in Minneapolis right now are acting as constitutional observers to observe what ICE is doing, to,
Bandana
make sure
gang,
that
represent.
if they are and when they do violate people's constitutional rights, that is accounted for, that it's recorded. And we also were, we were blowing our whistles, we were honking the horn of our car, because that has been some of the only successful ways that we've been able to warn people in the neighborhood that ICE is in the vicinity. So that's what we were doing, trying to protect and notify our neighbors that ICE was around and continue to watch what they were going to do.
Got it. And a DHS spokesperson says that agents gave you multiple warnings as well to stop impeding law enforcement. Is that true?
Yes, they did tell us to stop impeding, but, there was no one ahead of them. They could have just kept moving forward. All we were doing was blowing on our whistles, honking our horn, exercising our First Amendment rights. We weren't violating any, traffic rules. And so, yeah, we were just exercising our rights, and then were detained for that.
All right, tell us what happened. You say that in the car ride
You did a
to
good
the
job
ICE
of
facility,
explaining it.
an agent said some pretty disturbing things to you.
Yeah, the same agent that sprayed pepper spray into the vent of my car. When I got into the car, the 3 ICE agents immediately started mocking and taunting me. One took a picture of me and showed the other ones laughing. And then, yes, that one agent said, you guys got to stop obstructing us. That's why that lesbian is dead, referring to Renee Good.
Wow. So then when you got to the detention facility,
And I believe
what
her because
happened
we've
there?
heard agents say other things like that.
When we got to the detention facility, I immediately saw 6 young Hispanic men and 1 East African woman lined up against a wall, waiting to get put into a holding cell. I was then taken into the building and put into ankle shackles, and then taken to a hallway with designated cells for U.S. citizens and held there for over 8 hours. And in that time, there was just like intermittent sounds of, screaming, crying, pleading, like, people who are in absolute agony. And that was juxtaposed with a lot of small talk, banter, just lighthearted conversation from the federal agents that were outside our cells. So it was very clear to me that a lot of the people that are working there are very desensitized to the visceral pain that people there are feeling.
Now, you did say, and just one more question, Patty, during your time in detention, you had a chance to have a conversation with an ICE officer and actually came to an understanding. Can you tell us what happened?
Came to an understanding.
Yeah, it was actually a Border Patrol agent, and he just wanted to know more about like why we were doing this. And so I, explained that it's because we keep the care about our community. I want to show up for and protect my neighbors, because there also are like designated cells for U.S. citizens in this building. U.S. citizens are getting picked up and arrested and detained, and their constitutional rights are being violated all over the place. And at the end of the conversation, he said, I think I just kind of thought all of you guys were crazy. And so, we're not crazy, right? We are really concerned about what we're seeing, how we're seeing people treated in our community. And I think when you have that kind of, this desensitization to dehumanization and pain, coupled with thinking that the people who are showing up for their neighbors are crazy, I think that that's a really dangerous combination, and kind of explains a little bit more about why we see ICE showing up in the way that they are in Minneapolis.
Patty O'Keefe, appreciate you joining us and telling us about your story.
U.S. citizen detained by ICE. This is ICE tackling a U.S. citizen. I don't think he was threatening them in any way. He was just dancing in a fox mask.
I like that. All right, the clowns are here. I like it. Are you guys warm in there? Why don't you get out of your car? Solidarity with the American people.
Don't forget Christina.
Mario, do you good?
Give me that.
You can hold this, okay? Just know everything. That's why the one guy.
Because I gotta go like this.
That's why you know I'm in a database. Oh yeah, fucking Pete Heggs ass people got my picture.
Yeah, they've also been infiltrating the crowd, you guys.
Oh, in the social media, yeah. They know people back there. Oh yeah. Try to stay behind the line. It's what they use to cover the land.
Trump's still playing well with working class American pedophiles. I buy the wanted to do raw milk, but then all their lawyers told them it was a horrible idea. I believe that. Oh shit, I hit my mic somehow. Sorry about that. So a group of protesters, and you're going to hear from them, and get their perspective, went inside a church where the pastor is a local field director for an ICE office.
David Easterwood is a pastor here. He is also the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. So someone who claims to worship God, teaching people in this church about God, is out there overseeing ICE agents. Think about what we've experienced. The murder of Renee Good at the hands of ICE. A Venezuelan national shot by ICE. A 6-month-old baby who almost died as a result of ICE unleashing military-grade weapons on our community. How dare you claim to be a pastor of God and you are involved in evil in our community?
Do you think Jesus would be understanding?
We're about worship.
These folks.
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them?
No, church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted.
Oh my God, Quantum! Yeah. Oh my God, Quantum did the joke. Lord of the Rings was filmed in New Zealand. That's amazing. That's a running joke on Flight of the Conchords.
Are involved in evil in our community.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding?
We're about worship.
These folks.
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them?
No, church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters. Yeah. We asked them to leave, and they.
Oh, that dude totally has skeletons in his closet. Alien, welcome in. Seriously, that pastor, like the look in his eyes. He's done some fucking evil shit. I don't know, my mic, like, it keeps... Somehow I keep moving the slider. It might be I'm high. It's weird that I can do this show for almost 6 years and never do this thing that's happening tonight. The DOJ is threatening to use a KKK law against Don fucking Lemon.
The Justice Department is vowing to bring charges against protesters who interrupted a Sunday service in St. Paul. Thanks for joining us. Protesters say that a pastor at City's Church is also the acting director of enforcement for ICE in St. Paul. Senior investigative reporter Jennifer Mayerly is here with what she's learned about what happened and what's next, Jen.
Well, Aaron, here's what we do know. St. Paul police responded. By that time, we're told protesters were out of the church. They tell us it's part of an active disorderly conduct investigation. The feds say they've launched a civil rights investigation.
This is video inside City's Church in St. Paul when anti-ICE protesters interrupted service Sunday morning. Black Lives Matter Twin Cities founder Chantel Allen was there.
We went to the church and we knew that we were going to disrupt service. We knew that we were going to disrupt and ask some questions. We didn't know that it was going to turn into a full-on protest.
She says members of Black Lives Matter Minnesota and Racial Justice Network were also there to tell the congregation one of their pastors works with ICE. The last sermon WCCO found of him on YouTube was April of last year.
Envy is a sneaky sin.
Our cameras captured David Easterwood at this press conference alongside DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in October.
My name is David Easterwood. I'm the acting field office director for enforcement and removal operations, ERO St. Paul.
In general, probably the basic rule is you shouldn't be interfering with other people's church services.
Political science and First Amendment expert Professor David Schultz says charges could depend on intent.
If you do trespass against a church, try to break up a church service, and you do so with a certain type of, let's say, intent or certain types of goals, it could rise to either a criminal or a civil matter in terms of a violation of civil rights law.
Allen stands by their actions.
Interrupting a church service to inform the community of individuals that are terrorizing our community, that are standing in their pulpit, that's what we should be doing as citizens.
We asked if Allen is worried about civil or criminal charges.
I'm concerned that our citizens on a whole are in danger right now, and I'm willing to put anything on the line for our democracy.
All right. We also asked what could happen from a civil rights
Clinically, good to see you,
Schultz
friend.
says people could face a fine. Criminal charges could carry jail time. Aaron?
Okay, Jen, thank you so much. Well, the number of ICE arrests across Minnesota are growing. Just today, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem posted on X saying DHS had arrested 3,000 criminal illegal aliens.
He looks good in that picture.
Murderers, rapists, and incredibly dangerous individuals over the past 6 weeks.
I'm sorry. I'll see myself. We're going to watch Susie and the Banshees from 1981 in Germany. Right after the Troll Patrol. That's Live Music Monday. We're talking about the church in Minnesota. How about talking to some faith leaders from Minnesota and what they think about ICE action?
Welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hockert. We're really glad that you're with us here on this Friday. One of the headlines that didn't get a lot of attention yesterday, as I mentioned, it's just been sort of an onslaught of news coming into our newsroom. I know your news feeds are full of stories as well. There's a group of faith leaders who staged basically a sit-in at Target headquarters. They were there for at least 7 hours, and what they're doing is asking for a meeting with Target CEO Brian Cornell. They're asking the company to stand with them in their efforts to get these immigration operations out of Minnesota, among other things. So joining me now is...
So they're going to talk to one of the faith leaders, but they didn't show the footage of the sit-in. This was at Target earlier today, I believe.
We won't stop fighting. We won't stop fighting. Till ICE is gone. Till ICE is gone.
Target says that their mission is to support the joy of everyday life for all families. Then do it.
Do it now.
Justice over profit.
Justice over profit. People over.
I sit here not only as a mother or a grandmother, but I sit here as a great-granddaughter of an immigrant. And I sit here and I ask Target, you must stand with us. You must stop discriminating. You must stop treating immigrants wrong. You must give them better wages. You must give them an opportunity to have housing. You must give them an opportunity to feed their children. I sit here because this is the right thing to do.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not a fan of box stores in general. Of the box stores, I probably like Target the best, but that's not saying much of anything. Oh, we're going back to the interview. Faith leaders talking about their sit-in at Target.
Pastor Martha Bardwell, who was there yesterday and actually got the CEO on the phone. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Good to be with you.
Before we move any farther, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just play the clip that's been on social media of the conversation that you had, and then we'll come on the back end of it and you can tell me a little bit about it. So Amber, let's play that.
Hi, Brian. My name is Pastor Martha Bardwell, and I'm here with a bunch of clergy in the lobby of corporate headquarters. We are waiting here to speak with you.
Is this the right Brian Cornell?
You're out of town here. I'm putting you on.
She's pulling a Roger and me.
Go ahead.
I am out of town right now and heading into a meeting, but I know our local group is going to be happy to talk to you. So thanks.
Okay, can we get you on Zoom? Can we get you on Zoom after that meeting?
Sorry, I better run.
We're in total crisis over here in Minnesota. We really need to talk with you.
Oh, it's really, is it?
He hung up
Pastor,
on her.
tell me a little bit about the phone call and, you know, how you got him on the phone too, first of all.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, the day began at 11 a.m. We had a press conference outside of the downtown Target store, and we had several speakers from the faith community say very clearly that we have 4 demands for Target. First of all, we want them to publicly say that we need to get ICE out of Minnesota. Families are being torn apart. There's horror and terror in our streets that these ICE agents are bringing, and we need them out now. We also want them to make a public stance saying that the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good needs to be arrested and prosecuted. We also want them to publicly say that Congress should stop funding ICE. And there's a funding deadline coming at the end of January.
She's cute. I think I can convert her.
We also want them to become a Fourth Amendment business. So that means we want them to say that ICE cannot stage in their parking lot and cannot come into their building to terrorize employees or customers without a judicial signed warrant. So those were our demands. We raised our voices as faith community, anchored in our faith values.
Let me Google that one. Do Lutherans fuck? Well, King Henry left the church, right? It's out and it's hot. The discussion guide on sexuality for Lutherans, released last month, it is sure to spark. It's not a no. It is sure to spark debate both in and out of the evangelical Lutheran Church. Human Sexuality and the Christian Faith, a 55-page document produced by the denomination's Division for Church and Society, was designed to prompt dialogue and set the stage for future ELCA social statement on sex issues. Let's get to it. Can they fuck? DJ Dub says yes, they fuck.
In love of neighbor as the heart of who we're called to be as human beings. And then we started singing This Little Light of Mine, and we walked together to the Target corporate headquarters. We went up the stairs, 120 of us from different faith traditions, ecumenical clergy, made a circle, and I presented those demands. Not only from the crew right there, but we had hundreds of other clergy in Minnesota and across the country sign on to petitions. And we demanded to meet with the CEO.
I assumed, oh yeah, meant yes, Lutherans fuck. Did that not mean, oh yeah, Lutherans fuck? That's what you, oh yeah, lots of Lutherans up here. Now that is a conjunction. You could technically be referring to something else and just confirming to me that you have Lutherans, but to me it seems like it's confirmation of the statement that I made before that Lutherans fuck, and you're answering it, oh yeah, lots of Lutherans up here. But you could read that in a way in which you're not confirming that Lutherans fuck. I will do my best not to ram things down your throat.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Yeah, okay, I can totally see how you are simply confirming that there are Lutherans and not answering my question. But I took it as an affirmation of I totally see the miscommunication, because that is one of those quirks of the English language, that it could have been a standalone sentence that did not mean that you were answering my question. But that's the way I took it. Does anybody know what a trade bazooka is? Because I don't fucking know. I don't know. What do you guys think a trade bazooka is? Do we have any guesses? I think I've turned my microphone down too much. Man, I gotta find that sweet spot. I was editing that video earlier today and I was like, ooh, I'm a little hot. Michael, motherfucker, if there's more than one Lutheran in a given location, that would seem to indicate that they do, in fact, fuck. It's not that complicated. Okay. So I specifically meant Lutheran clergy. Lutheran clergy. It's in this title for a CBS News piece.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's push to take over Greenland escalates into a trade dispute that's sparking anger across Europe. Trump says starting February 1st, he will impose 10% tariffs on NATO allies that have sent military forces into Greenland. Now, that list includes Denmark, France, Finland, Germany, and the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the UK. Trump plans to boost the tariffs to 25% in June. He says they will stay in place until the U.S. reached a deal to take over Greenland.
Wait, whoa, hold on.
The Norwegian Prime Minister.
Lutherans don't fuck, so I don't have a chance with the ecumenical lady from earlier.
Trump tied his push for Greenland to missing out on the Nobel Peace Prize. The message reads in part, quote, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, plus I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Now, EU ambassadors yesterday held an emergency meeting to discuss their response to Trump's tariff threats, which some leaders called blackmail. One option on the table, a powerful economic countermeasure dubbed the trade bazooka. So let's bring in Philip Luck, economics program director and Scholl chair in the international business. Philip, what exactly is the trade bazooka? What is it? And if the EU goes through with it, what could it mean for the U.S.?
Yeah, this bazooka is the anti-coercion instrument, which the EU adopted in 2023, actually in part because of trade tensions during the first Trump administration. What this basically you should think of as, it's a collective defense measure that if any one member state or the bloc as a whole is being coerced for diplomatic reasons, they can respond with tariffs, quotas, other measures to put economic pain back on the person that's coercing them. This is something that could certainly be used. The French have certainly advocated for this. But even if they don't use this, they already have a lot of tools that they've started to set up over the past year, including about $100 billion package that would hit a lot of U.S. agriculture and other products.
So Phil, Trump says his tariffs on European nations will take effect February 1st. Who will those duties likely hurt the most, do you think?
She said duties.
Here in the United States, so I would say that this is a really big deal because the United States.
Last night we did a story about a dude that was throwing duties
in the world.
From the awning of an LGBTQ center.
$1.5 trillion annually. So we import everything from them, from machinery to cosmetics to pharmaceuticals to industrial tools. This will affect both consumers and U.S. exporters who use a lot of inputs from Europe into their manufacturing output. So it'll not only increase prices at home, but will reduce our competitiveness abroad.
we're going to likely feel it in our wallets. And we've seen trade spats between the U.S. and European countries before. Is this time different, do you think?
It certainly is from the European perspective, and I think the administration here in Washington is starting to realize that. I think it's different for two reasons. One, by singling out 6 European countries, this administration is really undermining the core bedrock of the European project, which is a common market. Europe really thinks of that as existential for their existence as a common market. The second is the reason of the coercion. Europe is okay, generally speaking, with trade spats where they don't like our trade policy, we don't like theirs, and we try to come somewhere in the middle. This is about the sovereignty.
Come somewhere in the middle.
Country. And so not only the reason for the coercion, but the type of coercion are really red lines for Europe.
Philip Luck, thank you so much. Great to see you.
He said, come somewhere in the middle. Is Donald Trump the greatest president of all time? Apparently some dipshit on CNN thinks so, and Navarro giving him the smackdown.
You think Donald Trump is going to get graded as one of the greatest presidents of all time? I'm going to begin to wonder if you're smoking crack.
Chip O'Neill never thought Ronald Reagan would be rated one of the greatest presidents of all time, and they got along and they did wonderful things.
I was on crack. Love it or hate it. He is the most consequential political force in the modern era. He is the strongest party boss either party has ever seen. He got more votes each time he appeared on the ballot. He has people that will only vote for him. Now, that's something Obama had as well. He had people that would only vote for him. That puts you in a different realm. I mean, when you're that kind of and two-term presidents often have this, but you cannot deny, he is the most consequential political force of the modern era of either party.
I don't want to deny that because
you think Donald Trump is going to get graded?
I mean, he's consequential. Yeah, he's smoking crack.
I was on crack.
Right.
We watched Mike Lindell in the governor's debate. I'm gonna have to do an election rundown. Oh, there's Texas. Today was the day to declare. Trump actually backing a challenger to John Cornyn in Texas. Oh, I'd heard rumors that there was another woman that was going to jump into the race. Apparently, it's just going to be Ken Paxton running against John Cornyn. Trump has not endorsed Cornyn, but he's not endorsed Paxton either. We're going to have to do a rundown of the races we're going to be keeping an eye on this year. I'm going to try my best. Last election cycle, I missed out on primary debates. We need to watch more primary debates. I'm going to try to do a better job of getting some of the more high-profile primary debates during this election year. We've got a third of the Senate and all of the House up for re-election come November. If we get to have an election... Things apparently looking good for Democrats, though, according to Harry Hinton.
New polling ahead of the midterm election shows Democrats are feeling highly motivated to get out and vote later this year, and that could be bad news for Republicans who are hanging on to a slim majority in the House. So let's go to CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Hinton. What exactly are these poll numbers telling us, Harry?
Yeah, oh my goodness gracious. I can't believe it. The first year of the Trump administration already pretty much done. We got a midterm election coming up in November. And what are the poll results showing us?
It's been a year exactly come tomorrow.
Ballot, right? That's matching up the Democrats versus the Republicans and the choice for Congress. And what do we see? We see the Democrats with an advantage on that generic ballot. Right now, they're ahead by 5 points. And what I think is so interesting is you look at this 5-point advantage, and it's the same exact advantage that Democrats held among registered voters when you went back to Trump's first term in January of 2018.
The fact that it's only 5 points is an indictment
and
of
why
Democrats.
is that so notable? Because I don't know if you remember, Pam, but back in 2018, Democrats were looking to pick up the House majority. Republicans held, of course, the House of Representatives, and Democrats were able to net themselves 40 seats in the House come November. Now, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to net that many seats this time around, but at least according to our CNN polling at this point, the Democrats' lead looks very much the same now as it did back during the 2018 cycle, and that's good news for Democrats. But that's not the only piece of good news in this poll, because, of course, if you know anything about midterm elections, you know that it's about turnout, right? Turnout is lower in a midterm election than it is in a presidential year, and it's all about that motivation to go out there and vote. And this is where I think it gets really interesting for Democrats. So if we break it down by motivation to vote, right? If you look at voters overall, Democrats have that 5-point advantage, which I mentioned. But look at those extremely motivated to turn out and vote. Those who would crawl over those hot coals to go out there and vote. And what do we see? We see the Democrats up by 16 points among those extremely motivated to vote. This makes a lot of sense to me, Pam. Why does it make a lot of sense? Because look at the elections that we had in 2025. We had Virginia governor. We had New Jersey governor. We had those special elections as well across the congressional special elections, as well as those for state legislative elections. And what we saw in those elections in 2025 were two things. One, that Democrats were far more likely to turn out than Republicans. And two, that resulted in Democrats vastly
They probably will impeach him again.
So I think Democrats look at the voters overall, they say, hey, that's not too bad. But they look at the extremely motivated numbers and they say, ka-ching, because if that holds towards November, they think, hey, we got a pretty gosh darn good chance of winning back that House majority.
Yeah, we'll see how those numbers actually translate in reality. And voters are also expressing their level of confidence in their congressional leaders, right?
Yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because we see these generic ballot results and you say, okay, you know what, this is good for Democrats. But then you look, okay, at the congressional leaders and say, okay, approve of these congressional leaders. For Democrats, just 28%. Just 28% of Americans approve of the job that the Democratic congressional leaders are doing, right? For Republicans, it's 35%. So more folks approve of congressional Republican leadership than they do of congressional Democratic leadership. Yet, you see that Democrats are leading on that congressional ballot.
Once again, an indictment
very interesting.
of
How could that be?
Democrats.
Well, there are two reasons for why that is. Number one, Democrats are far less likely to approve of their own leaders than Republicans are. But here is the key nugget. When we're talking about midterm elections, it's about one person really and one person only, and that is the President of the United States. And take a look here. Choice for Congress, if you disapprove of Trump, and 59% of voters in our poll disapprove of Trump. Look at this, 76%, about 3 in 4, in fact, slightly more than 3 in 4, say they're going to vote for the Democrats for Congress, compared to just 8% who say they're going to vote for the Republicans for Congress. So yes, it is absolutely the case that congressional leadership on the Democratic side is not well liked among Democrats compared to what we see historically, and not well liked compared to what we see among Republicans. But the truth is, that may not matter all that much, given that the man who's in charge of the executive branch is Donald John Trump, and right now the vast majority of Americans and voters don't like the job that he's doing. It kind of reminds me of what we saw back during the 2010 cycle, when there were a lot of folks who didn't like what Republican congressional leadership was doing. And guess what, Pam? It didn't matter, because voters didn't like the job that Barack Obama was doing back then. And they punished Democrats who lost control of the House in one of the largest waves, in fact, the largest wave of either of our lifetimes.
Yep. All right. Harry Enton, thanks.
Thank you, Harry. Nurses in New York City entering their 8th day, or no, they're going to be entering their 9th day. Today was their 8th day on strike.
City nurses strike and the stalemate continues with no end in sight. Nurses are back on the picket line with the union saying they've yet to be presented an acceptable offer that addresses concerns over pay, staffing, and safety. Eyewitness News reporter Lauren Glassberg live outside Mount Sinai in Morningside Heights, where the Reverend Al Sharpton just paid a visit to the striking nurses. Lauren?
Yeah, Reverend Al Sharpton came out here about 20 minutes ago, and he showed his support for the nurses who are now entering their 2nd week on the picket lines. He says this is what Martin Luther King Jr. would have done. He said this isn't just a labor issue, it's a civil rights issue.
Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses.
Now, Reverend Sharpton made some quick remarks and then he left. He got lots of cheers, and this crowd behind me remains energized, as the nurses have been really for the last 8 days. It's become a familiar sight. Nurses decked in union red on the picket lines. Today, along with their signs, were hand warmers, hot soup, family members, and some curbside outreach.
We're right here in front of the NYCHA housings, and they've been so gracious allowing us to use their bathrooms and keeping food for us. It's been a nice warm place to get out there and warm up, and so we wanted to be able to give back to the community.
And they're doing that with health education and blood pressure testing for anyone brave enough to sit in the cold for a stretch. It is the nurses' way of honoring Martin Luther King Jr., who advocated for both racial and economic justice. Economics are at stake in this work action. 15,000 nurses from 3 hospitals, New York Presbyterian, Montefiore, and Mount Sinai, calling for better wages, better staffing ratios, and more protections from violent patients and visitors. Yesterday, Montefiore and the nurses union met, and at the end of last week, there were talks between the union and the management of the other 2 hospitals. But little progress has been made. The hospitals remain open, but they're scaling back on non-emergency surgeries, and travel nurses are being hired to fill the gap. But that is costly for the hospitals, which say they're already dealing with rising costs of health care.
Keep warm until we get a safe contract.
Now, Montefiore this afternoon in a statement said essentially that the nurses need to back away from what they call reckless and dangerous demands before any progress
Bullshit.
be made. The nurses out here, they say they intend to be back for the long haul. Live in Morningside Heights, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
I stand with the nurses. Has the mayor been down there to visit yet? Is overall Mamdani actually getting a lot done his first couple weeks on the job? Well, I got this video. I wasn't prepared to play this. We totally need to watch this. This is great. You may have seen the new reaction meme that came from this.
The mayor on the bus says, hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. The mayor on the bus says, hello, friends. All through the town. The money on the bus goes clink, clink, clink.
The buses are going to be free, though.
That's so wonderful. But this is like my song, and the kids like to do it. Okay. Actually, I have another one.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another one. The babies on the bus go where?
Aren't the babies happy about the childcare?
They're so happy. Actually, the parents are really happy. This is like my big hit. I need to like.
This is your show.
Okay,
It's a big hit.
The mayor on the bus says hello.
I think he's done a good job thus far. They've apparently opened up a whole lot of new public restrooms. Because apparently government can do things if, the people in power want to do them. We're entering the crime portion of the show. We've got some pretty graphic stories. The next 3 stories are pretty horrific. If you have a low constitution for those things, give us about 10 minutes. And we'll be back to doing bullshit. Susie and the Banshees coming up in about an hour. Live Music Monday on Twitch after the Troll Patrol. Let's get high. Let's get high before we get into the crime portion of the show. After Susie and the Banshees, I'll probably beat Final Fantasy 3. I'll also do that on the stream. I'm gonna pack another one too. Alright, this is pretty crazy. Oh, we have a manhunt as of a couple hours ago underway in, I think it's Indiana.
The FBI and state police are now searching for the person who shot a Tippecanoe County judge and his wife over the weekend. News 8's Garrett Bergquist has an update on the judge's condition tonight.
Authorities say Judge Stephen Meyer and his wife Kimberly will be okay, but the court system is now urging judges to beef up their personal security. The Myers' front door bears witness to their narrow escape. Lafayette police say someone shot them a little after 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Steve was hit in the arm and Kimberly was shot in the hip. They say in a joint statement, "We are incredibly grateful for the outpouring of support from the community. Everyone has been so kind and compassionate. We would also like to thank the medical personnel who provided care and assistance to us following the incident." Neighbors told me they're relieved the couple is recovering. They did not want to go on camera, but they told me Meyer often handles some of Tippecanoe County's toughest cases. One neighbor told me Meyer always appears to be in a good mood, even after a day of handling those cases. Chief Justice Loretta Rush says, "Judge Steve Meyer is a fellow judge and a longtime friend. I'm deeply grateful he and his wife Kim are alive after having been shot in their home. Their health and well-being are of utmost concern to me. I worry about the safety of all our judges. As you work to peacefully resolve more than 1 million cases a year, you must not only feel safe, you must also be safe. Any violence against a judge or a judge's family is completely unacceptable. As public servants, you are dedicated to the rule of law." In that same memo, Rush directed Indiana's judges to remain vigilant in their own security. Lafayette police say this is now a joint investigation that includes the FBI, state police, and the Tippecanoe County Sheriff. And police say if you have any information about Tippecanoe, contact the Lafayette Police Department. In Lafayette, I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
We don't do a lot of stories out of Tippecanoe. Completely unacceptable. They have apparently not released a suspect or anything. Tippecanoe and Tyler too. It's about the president, isn't it? John Tyler, I think. I'm not exactly sure. Let's go international now. In India, some killer elephants have gotten loose. At least 22 people have died over a 10-day period of elephants being on the loose in India. 2026 off to a crazy start. Who had killer elephants on their bingo card? Nope. 10-day rampage. Chaos in small town India. Killer elephant still on the loose. Following a terrifying rampage that left 22 people dead in just 10 days, including an expert who was called in to stop it. The elephant went rogue in Chaibasa, a district in India's Jharkhand state. Began attacking villages on New Year's Day. I mean, it started right on the first day of the year. A couple and their 2 children were trampled to death as they slept in a Bavaria village. In the following days, the number of victims has steadily risen. Check out the video above. The animal is terrifying as it overtakes people trying to flee on foot. Officials completely lost control of the situation, botching attempts to capture and tranquilize the animal. It all comes after they briefly drove the elephant into neighboring Odisha, only for local staff to force the killer elephant back, straight back to Chaibasa over safety concerns. Wildlife officials now believe the animal... This is not your animal video. Wildlife officials now believe the animal is a sub-adult male in must, a hyper-aggressive hormonal phase, and may be lashing out while trying to find its way back to its mother's herd. Other officials believe the young bull is in its mating phase, according to the BBC News. So it's got like a really hard dick right now, and it's lashing out at people.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you
Elephant
the
got
blowjob
blue
of
balls.
your life. Then I want you inside of me.
In Spain, dozens are dead after trains collided, or a train derailed. It says high-speed collision. Did two collide?
Injured after 2 high-speed trains collided in Spain. One train was traveling from Malaga to Madrid when it derailed and crossed over the adjacent track, hitting the other train. Rescue crews have been working around the clock. The Spanish Transportation Ministry says the death count could still rise. ABC foreign correspondent Tom Sufi Burridge is near the scene.
Yeah, we've just been hearing from Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, Diane, declaring 3 days of national mourning. You can see Spain's Civil Guard blocking, restricting access to that road, which leads up several miles down the road to the crash site itself. And the sense we're getting from Spanish officials is still that there is work ongoing to recover from the wreckage, basically, of those 2 trains. It's a remote site. The video and the images kind of indicate that. And, you know, as we've been hearing from Spanish officials, there is nothing right now.
Beautiful area.
What caused the first high-speed train to derail, some of its carriages to come off the tracks, move across onto the other side of the tracks, and then, of course, that high-speed train traveling the opposite direction, south, down towards the city of Huelva, to collide headlong into those rail cars of that initial train which derailed. You know, Spain's transport minister underlining that this was a straight stretch of track, saying that the train which initially derailed was a relatively new train, and the stretch of track itself had undergone serious renovation work, which finished just 8 months ago. And also the train had passed its last inspection just 4 days ago. So an appeal also from Spain's Prime Minister that people should not listen to disinformation, that they should not listen to speculation. That investigation in the earlier stages. At the moment, I think the focus is still on that recovery operation. We've seen heavy machinery heading up that road just minutes ago. And of course, a lot of focus on the victims. We've seen relatives of families, we think, coming into this area. They've been now giving DNA samples, a very grim task for them, a desperate, desperate situation. And of course, the injured. More than 40 people still in hospital out of the 150 plus injured in this tragedy, and more than 20 of the injured said to be in a critical condition. Diane?
Tom Sufi Burridge, thank you.
Who's to blame for the Spain train flame? To bring it back to the U.S., but we're gonna keep on. Transportation accidents. A stolen truck suspect arrested after a pursuit in L.A. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the pursuit to watch.
Go around to the front.
All right, we've picking up this pursuit taking place in Vernon. It looks like this is the end of it. We don't know much about this, but a truck is on its side.
All right, Gil, are you in Sky 5?
Yeah, that's right, Lou and Glenn. You're looking at this box truck, a stolen truck the sheriffs were chasing here. This is on District Boulevard and Corona. Now, the truck was going about 45, 50 miles an hour eastbound here when a deputy tried to
earlier
put out
today.
a spike strip in front of it. It swerved violently to get around it and overturned. So at this point, the LA Sheriff's Department here trying to rescue the driver because it overturned onto the driver's side of the vehicle. But at this point, it's over. This stolen box truck here was on surface streets for the most part eastbound here. And when it overturned, when either the Sheriff's Department or Vernon PD tried to throw out a spike strip in front of it, and it violently shifted to the left and overturned. So we don't know what's inside the truck at this
top
point,
heavy.
but the driver, let's see, we don't want to go in too tight in case there's something. Okay, they got him out. They're walking him here. He is safe, and it looks
They're
like
walking him here.
But kind of a violent crash here with the truck trying to swerve out of the way of a spike strip and bringing the pursuit to an end as it turned over.
All right, Gil Lavis, thank you for that. Again, this is a box truck.
Gil.
In a pursuit. As he said, he laid down a spike strip. He tried to avoid it, and because of a truck like that, you do a sudden move, this is usually what ends up happening.
Yeah, typically because they're so top heavy, if you're speeding and, swerving like that, it is going to flip. And Gil, you mentioned
Mike, slide
that
right.
typically, like right now, you have no idea what may be in that truck. Do you have any details? You're saying it's allegedly stolen. Do you know where it was stolen from by chance?
We don't. I do know that this was coming across on the LA County Sheriff's Sentry frequencies. They were following this truck. And I don't know for how long this pursuit was going, at least 10 minutes that I know of, as it continued solely on surface streets here, heading completely
I wish you would have got the crash.
Downtown LA. It stayed eastbound until it turned over here. So again,
That's
we're
disappointing.
at the, District Boulevard and Corona Avenue in Vernon, and Vernon police were assisting the Sheriff's Department as this pursuit came to an end. So it's unclear who put that spike strip out, if it was Sheriff's or Vernon PD, but it was enough to turn the car over, or the truck over here, with the driver making a violent move there to try to get around that spike strip. And fortunately for the driver, he's not injured.
And how long was the pursuit for the most part? Do you know?
Yeah, we learned about it about 10 minutes ago, and it sounded like it had at one point had come to a stop and then continued. So it was going for at least 10 minutes that we know of, and without any sign of stopping, this driver was trying to get away from the Sheriff's Department. It was failing to yield for sure with all the units behind it. This driver knew that they were being chased, so it quickly came to an end here with that spike strip being deployed and it overturning.
Well. We do have video of this. Dash cam footage shows a semi hitting an overpass.
The westbound 10 freeway in Ontario is moving again after a semi-truck crashed into the 15 freeway overpass. The incident killing one person and shut down the westbound side of the 10 for hours. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan live in Ontario with video of the accident as it happened. Rob.
Well, all lanes are once again open. They've been open for several hours now, and the scene is clear. But as you mentioned, one person died this morning, all because the Highway Patrol says a truck driver was pulling a load that simply wasn't low enough to make it under the overpass. This is dash cam video from a vehicle not far behind the semi-truck that was pulling an excavator on a flatbed when it clips the bottom of the freeway overpass under construction. One steel beam then slamming down onto the freeway. The beam did not appear to fall on anyone, but watch as the driver slows down. Two other cars in the fast lane slam right into it, instantly brought to a stop.
What happened?
Damn.
They were transported to Arrowhead Medical by emergency personnel for major injuries, and unfortunately one of the drivers passed away at approximately 6:52 a.m.
Not only was there quite a mess to clean up, but because a driver died, the investigation itself was much more extensive. So much so that the entire westbound side of the 10 freeway was shut down for more than 6 hours, right in the middle of the morning commute.
I had a gym at 9, but I had to cancel it because I was not on time.
Hannah Sarsawala found herself stuck in the middle of this mess.
It's very blocked. It's like cars are stopped.
Very blocked.
Similar happened at this very location almost 3 months ago on the other side of the freeway. A vehicle clipping the overpass, that steel beam did not fall. As far as today's incident, 2 lanes were reopened by 11 o'clock, all lanes reopening shortly afterward. But one person is dead because this excavator simply
Police traffic's flowing again.
make it under the freeway.
With video of the accident.
We gotta watch this again.
This is dash cam video from a vehicle not far behind the semi-truck that was pulling an excavator on a flatbed when it clips the bottom of a freeway overpass under construction. One steel beam then slamming down onto the freeway. The beam did not appear to fall on anyone, but watch as the driver slows down. 2 other cars in the fast lane slam right into it, instantly brought to a stop.
What happened to those drivers? They were transported to Arrowhead Medical by emergency personnel for major injuries, and unfortunately one of the drivers passed.
This morning, a semi-truck that was pulling an excavator on a flatbed when it clips the bottom of a freeway overpass under construction. One steel beam then slamming down onto the freeway. The beam did not appear to fall on anyone, but watch as the driver...
I wouldn't want to drive on that bridge, the top part.
Instantly brought to a stop.
What happened to those drivers? They were transported to Arrowhead Medical by emergency personnel for major injuries, and unfortunately one of the...
That's insane. That's almost as insane as a 100 car pile up. 100 car.
Thanks, Colton. Let's check back in with 13 on your sides, Elena Holland now. She was with our chief photojournalist, Doug Grevious, trying to make it to the 100 car pileup we've been reporting on this afternoon. They weren't able to make it because road conditions have been so difficult, but they've still been giving us a look at conditions outside.
Yeah, and by the way, those conditions, quite windy, and at times the visibility is just very difficult. So, Elena, good afternoon once again to you. I know that you are outside, braving the elements, and of course, is that the highway behind you? Is that kind of what's going on there? Can you explain that?
Yeah, yes, Tanner, Emily, the wind is blowing like crazy and blowing all that snow, so it's going to be kind of hard to see this, but we're pulled off on 68th Avenue here right now. You can see the freeway behind me. This is I-196 between Hudsonville and Zeeland. I'm going to step out so maybe you can get a little better shot. We have seen a lot of vehicles here. As you can see, there's people walking. They look like they could be emergency crew. There are lots of emergency vehicles as far as we've seen ambulances, we've seen fire crews, we've seen police vehicles. There are large semis. When the wind clears a little bit, you can see there are large semis pulled off, slid off onto the embankment. Multiple vehicles just smushed together there. Down that way. And this goes on for as far as we can see in both directions. This is between the Zeeland and Hudsonville westbound area on I-196. Lots of people trudging through the snow. This is an extraordinarily windy area too right now. I had to turn so I could even still talk to you because facing the camera, it's the wind's blowing right at it. And this is causing a lot of the visibility concerns. It's causing a lot of the issues with the snow blowing on the road. I'm not surprised to see this with these kind of conditions at this time. Driving here, we've been having a lot of issues. There are slowdowns in the areas all around this because they're blocking the freeway for people getting on and directing people getting off. So, you know, those side roads are getting a lot of extra traffic. So if you're heading this way, make sure you find a different route. This is going to take probably a little bit to clean up. We're seeing a lot of vehicles.
This was this afternoon in Michigan.
Yeah, this is
right around the noon hour.
If you're heading out, be very careful. Taking Chicago Drive on the way here, it's very difficult to see the road, even on that main road that should be largely plowed out. But we'll be keeping updated on this for you guys today and get some more information as far as any injuries or what the impact is, how long the road is going to be closed. We'll keep that updated for you throughout the day, so stay with us. For now, live in Ottawa County, Elena Holland, Thursday.
That was news reporting on what exactly was going on, but the video did not really do it justice. Here's the video. It's really going to show you what's going on. 100 vehicle pileup in Michigan earlier today. They were having lake effect winds and snow. It's like a semi-truck gangbang. This is because we feel like commerce is more important than people's lives. Oh, probably. Only one person started this. It was kind of inevitable, though, with these weather conditions. You can't blame it on that one person. The East and the South apparently getting ready to experience a huge winter storm. Could be the big one for the season coming this weekend.
On the way, as we are expecting a winter storm threat for a good portion of the South. Now, understand at this point in time, there are questions that are not going to be answered, but we definitely see the pattern taking shape and the possibility.
Yes, Curiouser has travel plans for this weekend, and she was like asking me, like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, you should wait until Wednesday and you should make those decisions, because knowing what the weather is going to do on Saturday, on Monday is not the best bet. Wednesday, you'll have a lot better idea of exactly what's going to happen, but the possibility for a gigantic storm is in the cards.
For some impactful weather, whether that be rain, freezing rain, snow possibility. At this point, it looks like the greatest snow potential is going to be a little bit further north and on into Tennessee. So let me show you some of our forecast guidance. An important thing to note is that this looks like a high impact event, but our confidence is low at this point in the timing and even in exactly how this pans out and the precip time. This model did pretty good with the storm system for the weekend that brought some snow to the Gulf Coast. And so we're looking at this one now, and it looks like a cold rain is likely for central and south Alabama on Saturday, but some freezing rain certainly mixed in, especially over the northern half of the state. And then we've got snow off to the north. So this is probably a 24 to 30 hour window when we will have the possibility for winter weather arriving late Friday night around midnight and then lasting at least through Sunday morning. as this starts to push south. And again, a mix of rain, freezing rain, snow a possibility, but those questions are going to be hard to answer at this point. I do want to show you
seen
some of our
any
forecast
meteorologists? They're all
indicating,
unenthused.
potential ice accumulation or freezing rain.
That's not
Now,
true.
this is
There
the
are a
worst
couple that are
scenario
very
because freezing rain
enthusiastic.
creates hazardous travel. Can cause power lines to come down because it's essentially just a glaze of ice on everything. But if we see freezing rain, the snow potential is going to be much further north across Tennessee, and we just end up with the messy part of this system. Maybe the colder air will be a bit deeper further south, and that will allow for some snowfall. But those are the types of
I tried to get a national story and I found one, but it was CBS, and I'm kind of
picture with the forecast for the weekend. No weather worries today.
I'm kind of not going with CBS nowadays. Carla, thank you for the resub.
Sky on our way to the upper 40s.
I hope you were
Temperatures
saying
colder than
warm,
average, but
darling.
At least we've got the sunshine. And
We're talking about how there's going to be a huge winter storm hitting the southeast this coming weekend. Russia hit with a huge storm. Record-breaking snowfall in Kamchatka Peninsula. Kamchatka Peninsula. 7 feet of snow.
Ого! Это вот там кофе? Ну ты дерни дверь, открыта? Нет? Может, нам туда не надо? А, закрыто?
What you doing? Just digging a hole. Oh, he was digging out his car. Well, I mean, what happens once you get to it?
Следующее, если вам в эти подъезды надо, вот там пролази, сейчас покажу. Там вот, ну, короче, там надо пролезть, и ты будешь там во дворе.
7 foot of snow. This is a far eastern province.
Ну вы молодец, смотрите какой. Я обозначил. Ну правильно. Ну вы умничка, на дорогу не кидаете, проехать можно даже. Дороги-то нет. Ну она... Дороги, говорю, нет.
But it's record snow for them over in... I mean, I guess he had something... I would assume he was not trying to drive it, but had something in his car he needed to get out.
Красавчики. Молодцы.
Yeah, he had his cigarettes in his car. Yeah, that's the only kind of vehicle that's going anywhere in those conditions. Frigid tundra. This is very pretty. Seven feet. 7 feet of snow. Dude just barehanded. He raw dogged the snow.
Одну и ту же парту.
Oh, that would be the most fun.
Раз, два, три.
Yes.
Сейчас снимаю. Ну что, зря ты лез? Он не залез. А это знаешь что? Это дюна.
You had a car worth of snow on top of the car. They're all digging their cars out. I guess they think they'll go somewhere eventually. They're getting ready for whenever it melts enough. I was a little off on my timing. I said Susie and the Banshees in an hour about a half hour ago. But I guess I should have said a half hour. Here is your animal video of the day. There's always that one sibling. This is the Washington, Tennessee Animal Shelter. Oh shit. Didn't realize it was gonna have Dolly blaring. It is. It was in eastern Russia. It was in a far east city. This cat wants all the attention and all the lovin's, even though there's two. Look at the black cat is being sat on. He's being used as a cushion. Oh, videos like this make me want to hug my babies. Let me go round them up. Maynard acts like he doesn't like me, but he was laying on my shirt. Twitch people, it's Live Music Monday. YouTube people, podcast people, light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before you get the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live.